Hey guys, here with another weekly draft video, back with some more Battle for Zendikar. Also, before the draft begins, I wanted to say that my videos are now being posted on paperchampion.net. If you're watching my videos there, I'm glad you found them there. If you're not watching my videos there, you should go check out paperchampion.net. The link is in the description for this video if you want to find some more great Magic the Gathering content. Anyway, I will be back with you when the first pack opens. Okay, let's see what we open. Okay, Guardian of Tazim is a pretty hard card to pass, and I don't really see anything in here that's better than that. It's a very strong card. You know, it's a 5-mana 4/5, which is already very good, and its landfall ability is very good. Rolling Thunder is in here, and it's, something that is also very strong, but I think Guardian of Tazim is what I would take over, even over Rolling Thunder. There are several rares where I would take Rolling Thunder over them, but I don't think Guardian of Tazim is one of them, since it can act like a removal spell, and it's a big beater in the air. It's just hard to turn back. I'd like to mention Dampening Pulse, just because I think it's an incredibly underrated card by many people in the format. Usually if you're in a blue deck, it's a very strong card, but it may actually wheel all the way to me, depending on how people in this draft value it. Whoever's to my left is probably going to go red, since they're going to get a Rolling Thunder. There's also a Stone Fury in here, which is very strong. Lifespring Druid, probably the best green common, so, that's not bad either, but I definitely think I take Guardian of Tazim over Rolling Thunder. Rolling Thunder is good, but I think it's been less good in this format than I expected and than many people expected, because it doesn't kill as many things in this format as it does in most formats. If that card had been in Magic Origins, it would have been completely ridiculous, right? But in this format, sometimes you end up only 2-for-1ing or even just 1-for-1ing with it. You get to burn your opponent out with it a lot too. Probably Complete Disregard is what we take here. It's a removal spell, one of the better commons in the format. Spell Shrivel is also a pretty solid card, I think, but not what I want to take. Skyrider Elf, pretty good. It's probably the second best card in this pack after Complete Disregard. Processor Assault can be strong if you make it work, but yeah. I think we take Complete Disregard. No reason to try to stay blue or anything like that here, because Complete Disregard is just so much better than Spell Shrivel. So we could end up in a blue-black Ingest deck. We'll just have to see what we are given. Okay, well, there's an Incubator Drone. There's also a Demon's Grasp, which is probably what I take here. It's not incredible, but I usually end up running one of them in every black deck I make. Catacomb Sifter is very good, and it often... green is considered a pretty weak color, so you can often pretty easily make a good black-green deck, but... there's a reason it's open so often, and green has to be really open for it to work out for you. And if it's not, then, it's not so good. But I think I'll take the Grasp over the Drone. I do like the Drone. Cloud Manta is something I wouldn't mind wheeling. That might make it back to us. But yeah, we'll take Demon's Grasp here, the removal. All right, Malakir Familiar is a very good card, as is Silent Skimmer. Malakir Familiar is a lot better if you're in the life gain deck, but it's also good anyway. It can trade with anything, which is nice, and it's a good attacker in the air. Silent Skimmer, is a pretty good 4-drop, but I think Malakir Familiar is actually better. The fact that the Skimmer can attack through a lot of things is nice, but I think the fact that Malakir Familiar can trade for anything makes it a little bit better. I guess if we end up in a deck with a lot of colorless synergies, which is possible in blue-black, then maybe the Skimmer's better. And it usually probably will be in a blue-black deck, but I think Malakir Familiar is enough better that this early in the draft, when it's not guaranteed I'll be blue-black, I think I'll take the Familiar. We get another Complete Disregard, which is a great sign for us. It means black is very open. We have not seen much in the way of blue, though. There's another Spell Shrivel here and a Coral Helm Guide, but neither of those is a good sign of anything, because they're not amazing cards. They're decent filler, but Complete Disregard is definitely what we take here. So black is very open. The latest Familiar and the very late Complete Disregard are good indications of that. We may not even want to play Demon's Grasp if the black keeps flowing like this. We could move into black-white, depending on what we're given. If we see cards that really make us want to move that way, we could abandon our Guardian. But the Guardian is very strong, so if we can make blue-black work, we will. Complete Disregard is also far better in a blue-black deck than it is in any other deck, but it's obviously good in any deck. Just it's a very good removal spell in general, so... It'll be in our deck either way, but see if we get some more crazy good black cards here. Not so much. We do have a Sheer Drop, though. and a Lifespring Druid, which, you know, is a card that could, you know, enable us to run multiple colors, which is something worth thinking about. Guardian of Tazim's value drops a lot if we're not like primarily blue or at least half blue. It's either Lifespring Druid or Sheer Drop, I think. Plated Crusher's nice too, but you really have to be in a ramp deck for him. So I think I'm actually going to take the Lifespring Druid for now. Part of the reason I'm doing that is because we saw the Catacomb Sifter, and if we could get that back, I'd be pretty happy. And also, it'll just enable us to fix a lot better if we're in a black-green deck, if we need to. I mean, we could even end up in a, you know, in a Converge deck. Is Converge the right word? I think that is the right word. Whatever the mechanic is in this set with the... does something for every color of mana you spend on it. But the Lifespring Druid's pretty good. Seeing it that late's a good sign green's open, although it's often very open. Too bad blue hasn't been more open, but at least we kept someone else from playing Guardian of Tazim against us, I guess. That's happened to me almost every time I've drafted Guardian of Tazim as a first pick. I just has not. I've just, you know, not gotten anything else blue really, and it just ended up not working. Here I think I'd probably just take a Channeler. It's, you know, non-committal, but it fits in just about any deck. It's a decent body, and you know, it enables us to play some more rampy things, like along with our Lifespring Druid. So we could end up in a ramp deck at this point. Okay, Tadru's Stalwart could be pretty good in our deck if we're going to end up in multiple colors. I don't really like Transgress the Mind in limited. Converge. That was the right word, wasn't it? Fellow Arcub's fine. I think at this point I take the Stalwart, though. It's looking pretty likely that we'll be running multiple colors. We do need to pick up like an Evolving Wilds to really make that work. But even with Lifespring Druid, and chances are okay that we pick up more of them, be pretty good for us. Do I take Call the Scions here? It's not the most exciting card ever. Lithomancer's Focus is a very good combat trick. I almost never run Call the Scions, so here I think I'll just take the Focus, you know, on the off chance we end up going white. So we have a bunch of 3-drops and 3 5-drops at this point, which is kind of an interesting place to be. Guardian probably won't make our deck because it'll be hard to cast with double blue. As I said, we really haven't seen anything worth taking that's been blue, so blue's being drafted pretty heavily at this table, so he's probably not going to make it into our deck. I'm still pretty open to just about any other second color, though. The Sifter did not make it back to us, it doesn't look like. There's a Broodhunter Worm who's perfectly fine. Also an Arcana Assassin and a Grave Birthing. Grave Birthing's at its best when you can actually process things, and we may not be doing much of that. Arcana Assassin's at its best in a deck with life gain, which is something we could encounter. But Broodhunter Worm is just better in a vacuum, and I think it's what I'll take here. You know, if we take in the Arcana Assassin, you know, it probably would have made our deck no matter what. And if we ended up in life gain, it would have ended up being pretty strong. But okay, Unnatural Aggression at this point actually doesn't look too bad in our deck. Neither does Geyserfield Stalker. I think I'm going to go. Well, we've already got better removal, so I think I'll just take the Stalker here. I mean, he's easy to kill is the thing about him, but once you start getting going with that thing, he's pretty hard to deal with. But, you know, I end up cutting him more often than I end up playing him, but he could end up making it into this deck. Wouldn't mind opening up the black-green rare. Looks like the Catacomb Sifter did not make it back to us, so someone else may be trying to make black-green work, but we've still seen some decent green flowing, so it's still relatively open. Green's usually at its best because it's as weak as it is. Hey, that Skimmer coming back is kind of nuts, and I'm happy about it. I take it over the Mortuary Mire. What was I saying? Green has to be pretty crazy open because it's as weak as it is for it to be like good in your deck. Okay, we could take a Fertile Thicket here, which will enable us to play a third color a little better, which we might want to be doing with our Stalwart. And I think it's what I'll take. You know, it ends up being fixing basically because it can search your library for anything. Not for anything, but it can help you find the lands that you need. And that's relevant in this format. I'll take the Baloth. It might make it into our deck. Kind of hope it doesn't, but it's good enough that it's worth taking over a basic land at this point, I think. So, Our deck's kind of weird. We don't really have any of the synergies going on that you make the strongest decks in this format, but we definitely have some strong cards, especially our first few picks. And the Kozilek's Channeler is pretty good too. We have the Stalwart in our deck, so we're probably going to want to run a third color. So, we're kind of open to splashing things because we both have Fertile Thicket and the Stalwart, both of which allow us, the Lifespring Druid is what I mean to say. Both of which, allow us to fix, which is kind of hard to do in this format. Fertile Thicket, obviously not as good as Evolving Wilds, but, it's pretty good, so. Ask and you shall receive, I guess. I opened the black-green rare. I think it's pretty hard for us to pass. He's incredibly strong. You don't usually want to take him because green's not a strong color. But since we're already in green and it doesn't look like it's going too horribly, I think we got to take our Brood Butcher here. It'd be nice to get back a Rot Shambler. Then we'd start building some of the synergies that black-green can actually have. But Brood Butcher's far better than Rot Shambler. Like, Brood Butcher's just good in any deck that happens to be black and green anyway. And Rot Shambler isn't good until you have a lot of Scions and stuff. Wouldn't mind another Channeler coming back to us or something like that, or the Shambler. But yeah, we'll take the guy I wanted to open. So running a third color is doable in our deck. And a card like Eldrazi Sky Spawner kind of makes me want to go blue. There's also a Nettle Drone here, which it does have some synergy in our deck, but I don't know if it has enough to be like amazing. And blue has more converged things going on that are worth playing. Don't like Jotty Offshoot as anything more than a sideboard card. Unnatural Aggression will probably come back to us if we want it. So it's either the Sky Spawner or the Nettle Drone, and I think the Sky Spawner is probably better. They're both like premier commons in this format, but I think we want the Sky Spawner for now. It'll be better in our deck, I think. I would love an Evolving Wilds, and there is one here. What am I giving up? Not much. The Gnarlid wouldn't be bad in our deck. But other than that, this pack is not offering a whole lot to us. I think I'll take the Wilds. You might even wheel the Thicket, which would be nice. But yeah, we'll go for the Wilds here. So I'm thinking blue will actually be a color in our deck. And if it ends up, if we end up with enough sources of blue, the Guardian may actually make it in. I mean, even if we only have like a few islands in our deck, his landfall ability is pretty strong. And he's a 5-mana 4/5 flyer, which, usually is something you usually want to be cramming into your deck. So, all right, Void Attendant. Not liking that a whole lot. I mean, it's okay. I guess we do have 2 ways of exiling things already, so it's a little better than usual. Problem with Void Attendant, I mean, he does have some synergies with like our Brood Butcher, I guess, which is nice. There's also Tightening Coils here, which is pretty tempting. But we may not want to be relying on like removal for blue when it's like a tertiary color. I think I will just take the Attendant. Having 2 ways to exile things makes it better than it usually is. And it's a 3-mana 2/3, which isn't awful, but also not amazing, obviously. Another Skimmer, I think I'm happy to take. It's also a Titan's Presence, but I don't think we have enough colorless stuff to make that work. Also a Rush of Ice, but I like the Skimmer more, I think. Okay, Skitter Skin. Are we aggressive enough to make that work? I think the answer is maybe, and there's not really anything else. I mean, Plummet is an excellent sideboard card, but Skitter Skin will probably make our deck no matter what. It won't always be able to regenerate in our deck, which is obviously when it's better, but it's still a pretty strong attacker. Not being able to block is bad, but our deck isn't exactly a control deck. We're gonna, we don't have any 2-drops yet, which, Coral Helm Guide or something like that would be nice if it weren't blue. But we may pick up, we'll probably pick up some 2-drops somewhere along the line here. And you don't desperately need them in this format, to be honest, but I would not mind a Gnarlid or something like that. So, okay, Blighted Woodland would be good in our deck. It's another Lifespring Druid, though. I think I value that more than the Blighted Woodland. I I think I do. I mean, Blighted Woodland can help us fix, and its landfall with Guardian of Tazim would be pretty nice. So it is kind of hard. We also have Bring to Light, which I guess could be a thing in our deck, but I mean, you know, we could search up removal or familiar or fixing if we need it. But I guess we don't really need the fixing if we're casting Bring to Light on 3 colors. So I think we'd take the Druid here. You know, the Culling Drone's worth looking at. It's a decent 2-drop, but Lifespring Druid's enough better that I'm going to take it. Okay. Here I think we take an Eyeless Watcher. Makes our Brood Butcher better. And, you know, we do want some high curve here. I mean, we have the stuff to help us ramp here, but we're topping out at 5, which is a little weird. Certainly. The Brood Hunter Worm may end up not making it into our deck. Stalker probably, almost definitely won't. And the Guardian, you know, will only make it in if we can somehow cram like 4 blue sources into this deck. And I guess we have 2 Druids. But that might not be enough. I mean, the Wilds and the Fertile Thicket can also help us dig for blue. So we may be able to get away with running like 2 islands, the 2 Druids, Evolving Wilds, and Fertile Thicket, something like that. There's also a Thicket that might come back to us, which would not be bad at all. So I wouldn't mind that. I don't think the Baloth makes it into our deck. We just have better 5-drops. I guess maybe if I cut Guardian of Tazim, it'll end up in here, but I don't love the Baloth. I don't know if I've ever actually had one make a deck, although, I mean, it's a perfectly decent card. You know, I just don't draft green very often, so it would be nice to pick up a Brood Monitor. We haven't seen any of the really strong green cards, but, you know, other than Brood Butcher, which definitely is worth putting in. If I could go back, I'd take Catacomb Sifter too, but, you know, I can't. Okay, Rot Shambler and Sludge Crawler. Those are our 2 choices here. Our Rot Shambler does have some synergy going on with our, you know, we have Eldrazi Scion things. Sludge Crawler can ingest things, which matters only for our Void Attendant. It's also a 1-drop, though, and it's one that can continuously get larger, and we're going to have a decent amount of mana laying around. So it is kind of a hard choice, Sludge Crawler versus Rot Shambler here. I think I'm going to take the Crawler. The Shambler, you know, was tempting for various reasons, especially because we have some synergy with it, but I don't think we have enough for it to be really strong. Bone Splinters may be pretty good in our deck, though. It'll be better if we pick up some more cards that make Scions, but I don't really like Hogger Sharpshooter a whole lot, so I think I'd rather have take the Bone Splinters on the speculation that we end up with something that actually cares, you know, that has synergy with that allows us to sacrifice a minor creature, you know, and yeah. So I guess I'll take an Assassin here. Not really liking what we've been seeing, but, you know, in any other colors but black or green, we haven't seen a whole lot. But that's okay. Our 2 blue cards are quite strong, so I'm probably going to try to play both of them. The Sky Spawner shouldn't really be a problem. The Guardian of Tazim, as I've noted, will be more of a problem. We'll need to... I'd really only feel comfortable doing it if I pick up another Evolving Wilds, probably. I mean, a 3rd Lifespring Druid, I guess, would convince me too. Wouldn't mind picking up one of the strong Converge cards in the late going here. I'll take Grave Birthing. Certainly not exciting, but not bad. You know, if we picked up Rot Shamblers and stuff like that, it would have more synergy. Especially like Grave Birthing plus Void Attendant is a pretty nice little combination when it works. But you probably need a lot more processors than one Void Attendant to make Grave Birthing worth running. I've run it in the blue-black deck where I have like tons of processors and had to be very good, but this is not that. So, although we have blue and black in it, but yeah, our deck is kind of a, you know, it has some Skies stuff going on actually. I mean, Malakir Familiar, Eldrazi Sky Spawner, and our 2 Silent Skimmers and our Guardian of Tazim are going to be like major win conditions, so it's pretty nice, I think. So let's see what remnants of cards we have. Swell of Growth could actually make our deck, so I'll take it. It may not, but it's not a bad combat trick. It's no Lithomancer's Focus, but as far as combat tricks, there aren't very many combat tricks in this format. So Swell of Growth may very well be like the it's probably the third best one after Lithomancer's Focus and Sure Strike. So that's I'll take a basic here. That's not saying a whole lot because there aren't many combat tricks, but Swell of Growth is still pretty playable. It's better when you have a lot of landfall things, I guess, but it's still not that good. But could make our deck. We don't have much in the way of combat tricks, and usually having one or two is worth it. I wouldn't mind picking up more stalwarts. Like we look to be building a mana base that can support some more converge dudes. I also wouldn't mind picking up the Skyrider elf thingy. That would be pretty nice. The steal a creature with converted mana cost X or less, where X is equal to the number of colors you spent to play this would be good. I mean, when we have Lifespring Druid in play, Converge can be huge, so all the Converge cards would be pretty nice. I realize we packed a Bring to Light, but that's not really what we're looking for, I don't think. Okay, I think here we have to take Grip of Desolation. It's just one of the best cards in the format. Bane of Bala Ged, is nice, and it sucks to have to pass it when we have the ramp for it. But Grip of Desolation is just a lot better. A little bit of synergy with our Void Attendant, too. Yeah, I mean, if we get back like a Demon's Grasp, that wouldn't be too bad out of this pack. Don't really like Natural Connection, even in a deck like this one. But, I guess if it got back to us, I might think about it. But we'll take the Grip here. It's just very strong. Coom Firebird. There's also a Clutch of Currents and another Sky Spawner. I mean, I don't think we can swing playing the Firebird at this point. I mean, we could just say we're running red instead of blue, but Akum Firebird, while good, I think, the double red makes it a little harder to play, and it's the same problems that Guardian of Tazim has, and I don't think it's quite as good as Guardian of Tazim, so, yeah. I think I just pick up another Sky Spawner here. Some more fixing would certainly be good. The Clutch is tempting, but I think I pick up the Sky Spawner. It's just a very strong card. As I'm sure you know. Third, Complete Disregard. We could go there. We could also pick up an Ulamog's Reclaimer, which is really good with Complete Disregard. There's also a Fertile Thicket, which is definitely tempting, and a Snapping Gnarly, which is tempting, but I think I got to take a third Complete Disregard, right? Like, it's hard to say no to that. So I think that's what I'll do here. I think that's probably the max number of Complete Disregards you want. But I'm happy to take the third one here over a Gnarlid, which would, as I said, not be bad, but Complete Disregard is just very good. All right, there's a Wilds here. There's also a Bane of Bala Ged, another Skimmer, but I think we take the Wilds. I think this makes it so we're definitely playing blue as a third color, and it makes our deck a lot better because it lets us play our two Sky Spawners and our Guardian of Tazim, while keeping our mana still pretty consistent. I am giving up another Skimmer here, who has a card I like, and a Bane of Bala Ged, which I wouldn't mind ramping into, but I think it's more important for us at this point to take the Wilds, so that's what I will do. Wouldn't mind picking up a Ruin Processor at this point. We do need, we have Kozilek's Channeler and two Lifespring Druids, so there's no good reason for us not to pick up a big 7-drop. I don't think. And our Guardian's not going to be as good as it might have been. We're probably only going to be running like 2 islands. But the tap ability is still relevant, even if it's not locking things down. Okay, Merc Strider is entering relevance in our deck because we have 1, 2, 3, 4 ways of exiling things, 6 ways of exiling things. I think it's probably what I take. We may not play it, but this pack, otherwise, I guess we could take a Nightwatch, who's a perfectly serviceable dude, but not nearly as good in a deck where we can't take advantage of his ability to gain flying. And I think I'd rather take the Strider at this point. Maybe I'll be playing like 3 islands. Green has not ended up being like quite as open as it seemed like it was there for a while, surprisingly. Someone has taken the green, but that's okay, I think. We have our Brood Butcher, so... I guess what we could do is actually turn into a blue-black deck that splashes green for Brood Butcher. But I think having Lifespring Druids just makes our life a lot better in general. It would make our life a lot better in a world where we had some more cards with Converge, which we just don't have, but it's still pretty good, I think. You know, just being able to play one of our 5-drops on turn 4 is pretty nice. Okay, another Merc Strider, a Marasa Ranger. Yeah, Marasa Ranger, as far as 4-drops go, is thoroughly unexciting. We have a bunch of better 4-drops. I can pick up another Strider. Could also just pick up an Invoker, and I think that's what I do. Picking up a 2-drop at this point is pretty good. And we're going to have the mana laying around to use its ability, it seems like, so pretty happy with that. Trying to think what to trim. We probably don't play Broodhunter Worm at this point. You definitely trim a lot of green. We're probably not going to play Swell of Growth. We only need to cut one more card, assuming we pick up nothing else of relevance in the remaining picks. But yeah, our deck has kind of just ended up being a good stuff deck. It's not really... It has some synergy between like individual cards. Like Brood Butcher is going to be good with Eyeless Watcher and Sky Spawner. Bone Splinters, same thing. But we kind of just, picked up Fixing and are taking good cards in various colors. Okay, so Adverse Conditions is a pretty nice card in general. I think it'll be good in our deck. Makes me wish we'd taken that Rot Shambler earlier, but, there's also a Tadru Beastmaster who will be decent in our deck. It looks like we can go pretty wide, but I bet there might even be a later one for us to pick up. And I think Adverse Conditions is something our deck would like. Another Demon's Grasp, not so much. Cloud Manta's not bad, but I like our Silent Skimmers more by a lot. So, yeah, we'll take the Adverse Conditions at this point, I think. It's going to be hard to trim this deck because we just sort of ended up with a good stuff deck, like I said. Void Attendant probably sticks into our deck because we actually have enough ways to exile things. May actually lose Demon's Grasp. We have better removal between our Grip of Desolation and three Complete Disregards and our Bone Splinters. So Demon's Grasp may not be ideal. Dominator Drone isn't a bad late pickup. Anticipate's kind of a nice card because it can help us fix in some ways. It lets you dig for the land you need. But I think I'll just take the Dominator Drone. It's perfectly fine. The Blighted Cataract is also interesting, but I think we're going to be having... We're not going to be wanting to play colorless lands if we can help it because our deck's going to be running at least 3 colors. So I think that's relevant. So we're picking up more and more blue. So we may need to run a little more blue than I was thinking. But the 2 Evolving Wilds, Fertile Thicket, and 2 Lifespring Druids make it better, I think. Make it easier, I think, to run more blue. So may cut like Eyeless Watcher too. There's a pretty late Demon's Grasp, and it's probably what I take. Probably won't end up playing it more than one of them because we just have better removal and we need space for other things in this thing. But he seems fine. Could probably cut the Guardian of Tazim if I had to. Just because like the double blue is going to be a little difficult. We don't have double of anything else except for on our Grip of Desolation. But the 2 Lifespring Druids, as I've mentioned, I think lighten that load a little bit, as does the Fertile Thicket and 2 Evolving Wilds. So I can probably make that work. I'll probably need to run like 3 or 4 islands in this thing. Several forests because getting the Lifespring Druids online is pretty important. Okay, I will happily take a Ruin Processor. We'll be able to process a lot with this deck, which is good. So I think I like that. Here's a Beastmaster. I said we might see one late. I'll take it. I'll certainly consider running it. I've had success with it before in decks with lots of Scion tokens, but we don't have that many of them, so it may not be like incredible in our deck, but we have so many 3-drops, it's kind of crazy. And not a whole lot on before turn 3. But I think that's probably okay. Our 3-drops are very strong cards. It's probably our collection of our strongest cards, actually, are our 3-drops. Beastmaster probably isn't going to make it, though. Second Demon's Grasp, probably not going to make it. It may not even play one of them. Eyeless Watcher, probably not going to make it at this point. Probably end up cutting a 3-drop, and Dominator Drone may be the one to go. Another Silent Skimmer, you know, maybe I run 3 of them. We'll see. I'll probably run 2, and it's a good card to side in against the Blue-Eyed Skies deck. If I had to cut a card from the 3-drop area at this point, I guess it would probably be Dominator Drone. I may even cut the Invoker, which is one of the few things we have to do early, but having one Oran Rife Invoker in our deck isn't going to make a huge difference, I don't think. So we still need to cut one card, basically. See what we have late here. We'll take a Night Watch. Probably not going to play it, but, you know, that's okay. Very weird deck I've built. I've never quite built one. I don't think I've ever built one of these 3 colors together before. You know, it's not something that's going to come up very often. I will take a Swamp over the Sylvan Scrying. Scrying, not especially good in Limited. Always a good constructed card when they print it, but not an especially good card in Limited. We just don't need to be searching for lands that often. I mean, our deck, even in our deck where we kind of will be wanting to find certain lands, like there's just better ways to do it than a card that you pay 2 mana for and doesn't impact the board immediately. I mean, granted, we're not doing anything on turn 2 at this point, but still, I think it's relevant. We do have one way to gain life for our Malakir Familiar. I guess that's worth keeping in mind. Okay. I may cut Merc Strider. I think I probably will. We do have quite a few ways to exile things, but I think limiting the blue in our deck is probably worth it, and it's the weakest of our blue cards, I think. I even think Adverse Conditions is better, just because Merc Strider sometimes is just a 4-mana 3/2, and you know, that's a very real possibility that we don't want to have to deal with. Alright, so that's more or less our deck, I think. That draft actually took a long time. My fellow drafters were taking their time picking cards. I think we keep the Channeler. And the Guardian. Yeah, I mean, all of our green is basically concentrated here, which is kind of awkward, admittedly. Let's sort by color. Yeah, we really only ended up with 5 green cards. Black ended up being pretty open. And we ended up with 4 blue cards. So we definitely need more green because we do want our Lifespring Druids to be doing something. But, you know, not by a lot. Yeah, I may even just go 4 and 4 and 10. Then we have the Evolving Wilds, who count as 2 sources, plus the Fertile Thicket, which counts as a 5th green source. So, I mean, I could probably, yeah, I mean, we only need 1 black mana to get things rolling, so I could probably cut 1 and like run a 5th island, so we have 5 and 5. Yeah, that seems pretty good. Also gives us 5 good landfall triggers with our Guardian. You know, the other triggers are good too, as I mentioned, but that's like the best trigger. All 3 drops. Very weird, but hey, we'll take it. Actually, I somehow added 21 lands to my deck, so that's a little weird. Let's look at, well, I may just have to take them. Oh, it's because I did not put these in yet. That's what happened. So we can cut, yeah, that complicates things a little bit. I think we cut a swamp, an island, and a forest, and put in the Evolving Wilds and the Fertile Thicket. Yeah, so that gives us 4, 6 green sources, 5 blue sources, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, you know, theoretically black sources. So I think that's probably enough. All right. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the following rounds. This be interesting to see how this deck does, as it's kind of all over the place, but it does have some power. It's basically just a good stuff deck, though. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.